Though I don't necessarily endorse Nike due to several, questionable business practices, I am grateful to them for one thing: just do it. For someone like myself with rather low intrinsic motivation, just do it has been perhaps the most motivating mantra I've ever heard. As humans, most of us are wired as professional complainers, bitchers, and excuse exercisers. We make mountains out of molehills. We beat ourselves before we ever begin the game. But I want you to take a moment and think about something you're really good at. Brag to yourself, be honest, you know what you're good at. Now reflect back to a time when you weren't good at it. Whether by choice or circumstance, in regards to that thing, you've put in the time. You made an effort to become at least competent. Then it became easier. You didn't have to think so hard, and it evolved into a habit, a natural flow. Then you actually got good. Maybe today you're great. If you hadn't decided to just do it, you'd still be among the incompetent, let alone the good or the great. So what's the thing you're dreaming to be great at now? Who are your heroes? Why do you aspire to want to be more like them? Look, you've already proven to yourself that you have the capacity to plant a seed from scratch and watch it grow into a talent, a position, a recognition, an empire. It's the thing you're good at. Now, it seems to me the only thing you need to be great at something is that seed, a dream or vision of what you can be. So what's stopping you? Just do it. Welcome to the Jaywalking Sound.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Jaywalking Sound, Episode 2. My name is Jaywalker. It's a pleasure to have you with me. Now, after last week, we had the votes come in, introduced a few projects, and we had the most interest for this one right here, Project 3D Printing. So we're going to get into this and kind of introduce the project and a few different variables and considerations around how to implement it and what it's all about. And so we're going to go through those things. First off, what is 3D printing? Now, I'm sure most of us have at least an idea of what it is. In many ways, it's not much different than your printer that prints on paper, except we're adding an extra axis. So normally we're just printing on the X and Y, and here we're able to add a Z axis, right? So 3D printing is referred to as additive manufacturing. We are adding pieces to create something. Now, traditional manufacturing, most of it is done through subtractive manufacturing. So you think of a metal fork. That comes from a steel beam or whatever metal is being used, and then pieces are removed. We're doing the opposite here with 3D printing. We're adding pieces in layers, and so it's called additive manufacturing. All right. Now, the idea that you can think of, regardless of what scale we're looking at with 3D printer, more or less, it's almost like a hot glue gun. Now, when we get to kind of the higher levels, it doesn't work too much different than your bubble jet or inkjet printer, where basically a material is added, some heat is added, and then we're able to build the layers. So basically, that's what 3D printing is. All right. So different scales. Now, what does $1,000 get me? 10,000, 50,000, 100,000. Now, for about $1,000, you can set yourself up with a pretty awesome little home unit. I'm going to show you a couple things that you can make with one of those home type units. Now, really, as we go up in scale, getting to about 50,000, 100,000, we're really starting to get into fairly large corporate style manufacturing. I don't think too many of us have room or the budget for a $100,000 3D printing machine in our house. But really what we're looking at from one level to the next, as we go up in scale, reliability, consistency, the amount of volume that you can create, the quality that you're actually able to create definitely does increase more and more, and the materials you're able to use increases as well in terms of diversity. So once we start getting to some of these higher levels, we're able to use metals, we're able to 3D print metal alloys and things like that. So I've brought a couple of household items. Now, for this one, we're going to focus on kind of the lower price point here, rather than getting into more corporate manufacturing. But I've got a couple items here just to show you some things around your house that you may not know can probably be 3D printed with something like $1,000 home machine. All right, so look at something like this. Your sunglasses, you break an arm in your sunglass, this is something that you would be able to 3D print and repair. Here I have a bike pump. It has a lot of different pieces and components. And so with 3D printing, even on a small level, we can create pretty complex things. Gears, ball bearings, different things like that. So a piece like this, or a piece like this would be pretty easy to put in. Now, we wouldn't be able to print this whole thing. This is a metal piece here, but any of these extra components, right, these plastic components, very, very easy to do. Something like Superman, Lego, very easy to do. Here's a little more practical one. Something like a wall bracket, right? To be able to hold, that's a real easy one to do. Let's say you've got a camera and you break your lens cap, or one of your buttons or one of your little knobs here breaks. We could 3D print you one of these little knobs here as a replacement. Maybe your Halloween costume, something like that, piece of plastic, that's very easy to 3D print. Something like a ruler, very easy to 3D print. And for you musicians, maybe something like the bridge of your guitar, right? Or maybe you bust one of the heads on your tuners. That's something that we can 3D print. All right, so material sciences is really the thing that's holding us back in 3D printing. Now, we're able to do a lot of cool things with it, but the reality of the situation is that subtractive manufacturing is still better for a lot of things, okay? And so anything that has to do with like an edible component or something you use to eat or some form of ingestion is better done at this point due mostly to material sciences and our knowledge there. Subtractive printing is a better option. You just can't create the same seal with a 3D printed material in quite the same way. You can only bleach and disinfect that stuff so many times, right? So in terms of actual materials, on these smaller levels, we're looking at more or less plastics, right? Once we start getting these higher levels into metals, now alternatives, think about something like hemp. We're just not quite there yet. Now, hypothetically, we can make a hemp spool of raw material and create it, but the structure, the quality is not quite there yet. Now, we are making progress towards this stuff. It's important to know that in terms of recyclability as well. And that's really the goal, eventually, is to get to that point, all right? But material sciences is one of the major drawbacks right now from us being able to advance that. Now, if you're interested in looking at some material sciences, I'd recommend checking out Wake Forest University's School of Nanotechnology and Material Science. They're doing some really cool work there. So go and take a peek there. Now, why do we care? What's the actual implementation of 3D printing? Well, for me, I look at it, our manufacturing worldwide, logistically, has a lot of redundancy in it. where we mill something from South America and send it to China for processing and send it to India for creation, and then we send it to the States for assembly, and then it's sold to you in the UK, right? And so in terms of actual logistics, environmental impact, being able to put 3D printing in a more local level would really help. It would really benefit. And as we continue advancing our material sciences, certain things that we use subtractive manufacturing for now, we may be able to switch to more of an additive manufacturing. Now, the reality, we will need both. There are things that are just better printed from one or the other. And so in terms of actually integrating 3D printing and using it to help decentralize some of those logistical nightmares that we currently have, unfortunately or fortunately, manufacturing works, right? And the scale is something that people have a really tough time getting their head around. With almost 8 billion humans on Earth, we have a requirement for a fuckload.
Whoa, that was weird. Where was I? Oh yeah, we have a requirement for a fuckload of things and energy requirements. And so people might look at this idea of decentralizing manufacturing as strictly an environmental impact. To me, it's more of an environmental collateral benefit, right? Because I look at that distribution, the amount of energy it takes to sustain our lifestyles, and we still haven't been able to fully put energy everywhere in the world. The amount of energy that is required to sustain all of us, we need to find all the ways in terms of our global system that we can maximize the efficiency of that energy usage. And so the business case also needs to be made here, because we can't just turn this overnight. We're never going to get the capital into the massive investment of decentralizing the system that we currently have to take a risk on a system that may or may not work or may not be as advanced for who knows how long compared to the other system, right? Most people who accumulate success, there is a level of conservative to them in their risk taking as well. And so there still needs to be business cases made in terms of raw materials, how to be able to distribute those things locally, and something like design is obviously going to be a very important part. Now, we live in a much more globalized, connected world than ever before. We're not too far from being hypothetically connected to everybody else almost instantly at the click of a button. Wow! Imagine the impact that that can have for everybody. Now, in terms of the physicality of it, the practicality, this is why the business cases still need to be made in terms of we can design, we can invest in different areas of interest or industries such as agriculture, and the technology and knowledge and education there, mathematics, aerospace, actual space, whatever it might be, we as humans have the diversity to explore all of it. So, that is why 3D printing is something we need to start talking about and looking at how we can help to integrate it with our current manufacturing system so both additive manufacturing and subtractive manufacturing continue to grow. Our material sciences continue to grow. We can get better space equipment, better deep sea equipment, better recyclability and everything. We can more efficiently distribute our energy. If we look at the weakest, we're only as good as the weakest link in the entire system. When humans are able to see us all in the same team, we will be colonizing other planets. We will be interacting with, well, according to Fermi's paradox, other life somewhere. Whatever it might be, the sky is literally the limit. So, 3D, I think, is the step, one of them, to get us to eventually 4D, 5D, 6D. Maybe that's just my San Marcosian talking.
Okay, so music this week. An old freestyle, 100%. My friend Dan playing the guitar and doing some vocals. This is when I was getting into freestyle and rap a ton. My friend Zev contributing as well. And so this is from the fall of 2015, I'm pretty sure. Enjoy.
I'm pretty sure I heard this beat before when we was living that utopian dream on the living room floor. But that time we just gonna hit new goals as we just hit new causes, and you know it's just because we on it. You see, we just on it to be a part of the problem solvers, solution of the future. It's just a couple kids building out the neo creed, if you know what I mean. Best forget human beings, because we elevate. You can call it mutiny, but instead we just go in our own communities to build, and we understand it's not common scene, but we breaking the idea of society. Just elevating up in the ESP in psychic fashion. Your thoughts, yes, to read, decide to reenact it. You know it's just a making habits of these mental acrobatics coming up my tongue and there's always room for more. There's always room for more. There's always room for more. Just open up the door, I know I'm coming through the dark. You said there's more room, so open up that arc, because this pathway I embark, you know I'm just elevating, finding that spark. A lot of houses we go through the rocks and cobblestones, yes we flow. My pirate ship coast to coast, I'm taking it ready to explode out of the dosage that I give you into your bones. Doctoring, collecting the imposterin'. You see it's just infection in your general direction. Protection you need, but I got your back, G. You can call it epitome of transgression, just transcension, and somewhere in between us. Did I forget that I'ma mention that it's all about respect when you were kid, just coming from the heavens sent a blistering. There's always room for more. God, you know, there's always room for more. Room for more. There's always room for more. There's always room for more. Come and give me some more. What else you got in there, boy? You are already an expert in everything that you've never learned. So just take these lessons to head and question, 'cause you are already an expert in everything that you never learned. So inspect the question, 'cause there's always room for more. There's always room for more. There's always room for more. 'Cause there's always room for more. Nice, man. There's another track. There we go.
It plays all the same riffs.
With a little health.
Okay, so welcome to the community portion of the show, I want you guys to take a peek at this wonderful, wonderful man. Some know him as Alex, some know him as Alejandro. Everyone knows him as one spitting, incredible example of a human being. Okay, this is what our kids should be aspiring to be as their heroes. No offense to major sports stars or, as much as it hurts my ego, major rock stars, but this dude's his story, I mean, long story short, basically left a very successful corporate career in New York, I believe, to come to Guatemala. Obviously, we're a poor nation here in Guatemala, and this dude grinds for the people. And so I saw him doing all sorts of things recently with COVID. I mean, it's hit our country hard, especially with the lack of tourism, which has become a major part of the Guatemalan GDP and has really contributed to, a lot of growth in this country in terms of some opportunities starting to be created for more and more, right? And this dude just grinds. So I asked him, Alex, how can I help you? Whatever you want me to help you do, man, I am all over it. And so, of course, in true Alex fashion, he said, here's a massive list of groups that I'm working with right now, and just pitch them all. Okay, and so I was, of course, man, of course. And so, in honor of Alex, that we can give this dude a 2-week vacation, because that's what he's going to do, take a 2-week vacation, and then he's going to get back to work on new projects once we find some help here, okay? Now, we are moving it into action phase challenge, okay? I challenge everyone. A lot of people listening to this are going to be in a developed nation. You're in North America, you're in Europe, you're in Israel, you're in Singapore, Australia, New Zealand, the Koreas, Japan. I know all of you folks have some disposable income, okay? So this is the challenge. 2 hours of your time, whatever you make in 2 hours, I am challenging everybody listening to this to donate to one of the next following 8 groups. Okay, so I'm going to rapid fire them here, give you a little bit about what they're each about, and then we're going to put all the links, and I'm going to challenge each of you in your own time to go and check out each one of these groups, whichever one resonates with you the most. 2 hours of your salary, I want you to donate to one or a couple of these groups. Now, I want you to understand, even if you're making minimum wage, $14, $15, something like that, that is a month's salary, often, for a primary breadwinner in a family of like 10. Or that's not an unrealistic scenario here, okay? So your dollars do go so far in a country like this, and being able to provide equal opportunities that so many of us had and benefit from. If we all get on the same page, if we raise the floor of what opportunity is for everyone to have access, man, humans have a really, really bright future. Okay, so let's grind it here. Into the challenge. Number 1, Familia Uts Corazon. All right, these guys have been doing all sorts of organizations. They've been running alternative trade markets to help indigenous families and indigenous individuals be connected to what they need to get, making sure everybody gets fed. They've literally donated tens of thousands of boxes of food, all sorts of coffee. They're helping with eco bricks. They're doing absolutely wonderful stuff. Familia Uts Corazon. Check them out. All right, Conahel. These guys, malnutrition is a huge issue in this country. These guys do malnutrition programs. These guys do education programs. They do women's entrepreneurship programs. They produce all sorts of jobs for locals with indigenous in the management positions. Hell yeah. There's a few other things there on the screen you can see. Go and check out Conahel. Big thank you to Andrew, Ivy, Ingrid, some of the people I know involved in that organization who have helped get it going along the way. You guys are wonderful humans. Hell yeah. Conahel. Check them out. Water for Life Global. This one's pretty straightforward. Water, water, water. Let's make sure everybody gets clean water. They do filtration systems and other water programs. Thank you to Jenna and Nicole for getting this one going. There's a lot of other people who have jumped on as well. And Water for Life, awesome. Okay, you guys are great. Okay, Pura Vida, Atatlan. These guys are out to kind of clean the world, basically. Gardening, they do eco bricks for building, they do some of the tool projects in the water to help get things cleaned up, and so many more things. So if cleaning up things, you're feeling your Virgoan energy is the thing, check them out. Pura Vida Atlan. Okay. Shangri-La. Alright. Run by Tim and Osnot. Awesome people. These guys do fair trade coffee to the most extreme. I have literally seen these guys forego better prices so that they can keep things local, that they can keep the jobs here where they need to be and local, and they donate a bunch of things. They do the Harvest Festival every year, which is this massive fundraiser. Awesome, okay? Shangri-La, you want to know what fair trade coffee is all about, check these guys out. Thank you, guys. Okay, next, the San Marcos Foundation. Now, these main one again to fight malnutrition. So if you really want to put a focus on malnutrition, check out San Marcos Foundation. These guys are grinding, okay? Keep in mind, malnutrition is one of the worst in the world here in Guatemala, okay? So anywhere we can put some help there, let's do that. Let's do that. All right. The Tao Temple. Okay, if you've ever seen this beautiful building, you know there's a very special energy to it. They are a monastery. They are a Taiji temple and an official non-profit. They do all sorts of different economic programs, supporting with food, supporting with different clothing opportunities. They do loans for qualified indigenous and locals that they can get their businesses or they can get their families in line. The support they need. They do house when we had the disasters, help build houses, all sorts of stuff. They are super, super awesome, all right? So check these guys out. They are really working for the indigenous people as well. And, what a beautiful building. Okay, and one more we're going to expand just beyond kind of the San Marcos bubble at Lake Atitlan. ODIM, O-D-I-M. Okay, these guys are doing a lot of the same work in San Pablo. Okay, so San Pablo, right next door, and even poorer town than San Marcos, doesn't have the same outside foreigner investment. Okay, so there is 8 organizations that you can check out. The challenge, 2 hours of your salary, go and donate, follow all the links, do a little of your own research, learn about this awesome country, this awesome community, the awesome cultures that exist here, and this is one of the things I've always loved about San Marcos. There's kind of this joke of, a little bit of rivalry between San Marcos and San Pedro. And this is why I think San Marcos just has something special about it, is people really coming together, helping to educate and put the power in the hands of the indigenous so that they can have a lot of the same opportunities. So go and follow those links, okay? A few more thank yous. Art by Lenin Barrera, okay, a local Guatemalan artist. Tell me if this dude wasn't born in New York or in Paris that he wouldn't be a world-renowned artist by this point, okay? So this is really what a lot of these programs are all about, is rich countries versus poor countries. It's not that the people are any less smart. It's not that they don't have the same potential to do great things. It's that they've never been given the opportunity. We don't get to choose where we're born. So that's what this is about, giving everybody the same access to opportunity, okay? You put Lenin anywhere in the world, and I'm sorry, he's probably going to win that art competition, right? So let's continue to remember, this is about giving everybody equal opportunity that we can explore the wonderful minds of our entire world, okay? So I also need to thank Chris with Tinkernaut, his personal project, but Chris, an old friend of mine, really introduced me to 3D printing. This show, he had so much to do with really getting the ideas clear on the best way to present some of this. He is a professor in the aerospace program. He'd probably give me a little poke if I didn't at least mention the makerspace and the maker movement as well. Check that out. Thank you, Chris. You are awesome. One more reminder on the challenge. Go and check one of those links, all in the description below. Go and make that donation if you are in the position of being in a first world or at a good economic position. I challenge you, donate 2 hours of your time in funds through one of those 8 organizations. Thank you guys so much for joining me here in episode 2 of the Jaywalking Sound. Much love.